Okay, so now we're really just finishing off. We've seen how to add items to the session, how to retrieve items from the session, and check if items are in the session. Now we're just looking at these last two things, which I think we can cover off in one recording, and that is clearing all items from the session and removing individual items from a session by key. Choose high definition for the best viewing experience, and if you'd like to join a growing group of software developers and take your skills to a new level, all you need to do is subscribe, click the little notification icon, and welcome. Before I do that, just for thoroughness, I'm going to go, if we remember, we made this change to our interface really for this session class. We added a default, so just for thoroughness I'm also going to add that to the session interface so that they are matching, and here we go. So this will be mixed and it will be default. Okay, that's pretty cool. Let's now go over to our test and test that we can remove individual items and test that we can clear out all items from the session. So session test is down here at the bottom, and the first one we'll test is that we can remove individual items. So items can be removed by key. Shall we copy a bit of the code here? We'll copy something from this one, I think, and so this should be fairly useful to us. Paste that in there. So we are creating a new session, we are starting a session, we shall set an item on the session, and auth ID again will use something which is obviously being set by us, and then our do something part of this one is we want to remove an item from the session by key. So session and then remove, and then it is auth ID. Okay, and then when we go and do an assertion, what we're going to do is just assert that we are getting null for that key. So assert null session gets auth ID. So there's a couple of ways we could have done this really. We could have asserted false session has auth ID, but what I've done instead is I've just asserted null session get auth ID. So let's actually go and grab the name of this test and we shall run it. So okay, so we get a response of failed, asserting that 678 is null because nothing has been removed, so we're still getting 678 back. So we need to go and flesh out this remove method. What I'm going to do is first see if the session has the key, and if so, all we need to do is just unset it. So unset session key. Okay, this should be good enough for us. Let's go and run the test again. Okay, and we get one test, one assertion. So basically we've seen if the key is in the session, and if it is, we just unset it. If it isn't, we don't actually need to do anything. So that's good as it is. And then what we did, we just asserted that we were getting null when we tried to get that auth ID key from the session. Let's go and work on clear. This might even be less code. So test, and what we shall call this is all items can be removed from the session, or the session can be cleared. That sounds better. The session can be, okay, the session can be cleared. In fact, not session, session. Let's go and borrow this again. Paste that in there. And so what are we doing? In fact, this time we'll set a couple of keys because we're clearing, we want to look like we're clearing out more than just one key. So clear key 1, and we'll just call this foo, and this will be key 2, and this will be bar. Okay, so we've got a couple of session keys set there, and all we want to do is just clear and then assert empty. Assert empty, and then we are looking at the session. Okay, so grab the name of the test, let's go and run this. replace this. Failed asserting that an array is empty. So we obviously still have these items in the array. Let's go over to the clear method, and this is going to be really simple. All we're going to do is we're just going to set the session to an empty array, and this means that our test should now pass. So we'll clear this, run it again. One test, one assertion. Great stuff. Okay, just for thoroughness, let's do our return type declarations. We're not returning anything from either of these methods, so we need to put void here, and we'll just go and make sure, again, not returning anything from that one. Get, that is good, has boolean. Okay, it's all looking good. Let's now go and run the entire session test all in one go, because we've been running it one test at a time, and you never know, we might have some nasty hangover going on because we're messing around with sessions and things like that, so it can be unpredictable when you do stuff like this. Hopefully it should work for us and we shouldn't have anything to worry about. So let's go and run this all as one go. Okay, 7 tests, 11 assertions, and it run blindingly fast. Great stuff. We can now move on and start maybe thinking about how our application is going to look. What is the customer journey going to look like, because it will be customers which use its application because it's e-commerce. Maybe sketch that out, maybe do some diagrams, and then that'll give us a bit of a plan on what we can start working on next. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like YouTube to show you more of my content, all you need to do is subscribe and click the little notification icon. I release new recordings every few days. Details of my schedule can be found on the community tab of my YouTube channel homepage.